Hello and welcome to CATSweek. I'm Annalise Poorman. At their July 23rd meeting, the Monroe County Council heard a request for an additional appropriation of funds from Planning and Transportation Director Jackie Jelen. Jelen said that the funds will be used to pay for the required notice mailings that they will send to county residents to inform them about the Unified Development Ordinance public hearing.
We are coming to you tonight for a request for an additional appropriation. This is for our county development ordinance and the required statutory mailings that we have to send out as it relates to the new zoning text, subdivision text, as well as the map amendment. So we've provided a quick narrative that I'll go over, as well as some two bids that are located in the packet. We are requesting the upper limit of those two bids, which is the $26,230. But we're hoping to go with the lowest price vendor that we believe will do the best job. So we are required by state statute to send out a legal mailing to all county residents that own property in the county jurisdiction. In addition, under the state statute, we are required to mail out mailings to those within an 1/8 mile of the town of Ellisville, an 1/8 of a mile into the city of Bloomington, and an 1/8 of a mile outside of the county jurisdiction limits. So this comes to about 42,561 pieces of mail, which is why we're asking for help from a third-party vendor to get those out in due time. They believe that they just need a 10-day lead time, and that will ensure that people get the information they need. The mailing itself will notify people of the date of the hearing, as well as the location and time, as well as other statutory requirements such as what the CDO, the County Development Ordinance, will be addressing, what it will be changing, and some other pertinent information that is required.
Council member Pete Iverson asked for updates on the CDO and where the public can access information about the changes. Jelen responded.
I have two questions for you. Number one, where are we in the process of the CDO? And number two, where can people find more information about where this big change is taking place?
Thank you, Council Member Iverson, for the great question. So we are at the point where we have a full draft of the County Development Ordinance. And I do want to make an announcement that on August 6th, we will be hosting a Plan Commission administrative meeting and you all will be invited to attend. I'm going to have the legal department go ahead and do a draft notice in case a quorum of the council commissioners will be present at our regularly scheduled Plan Commission meeting. But this is going to be a full release draft of the entire CDO. And so your other question about where people can easily find a copy of this when it's available is the www.monroecdo.com website. We're going to put it at the very top, and we will make sure that we're ready for those mailers to go out. We are going to receive a high volume of phone calls, and our planners are ready and have been putting this on the calendar for quite some time to hold that date, those several dates thereafter, to answer the public's questions in person, by phone, by email, etc. And that information will all be on the postcard as well.
Councilmember Trent Deckard said he was in support of the appropriation and that he appreciates physical postcards. During public comment on the request, President of the Monroe County Planning and Transportation Commission, Jeff Morris, asked the council to approve the request.
My name is Jeff Morris, and I'm the president of the Monroe County Plan Commission. I just wanted to take a minute to express my support for Jackie's funding request for the CDO mailer. As you know, Jackie and the planning staff have been working very hard to bring the CDO to completion, and this will be a major process improvement for the public as they work with the planning department. This has been a major multi-year project, as you know, that is almost complete. So I would just ask that you all consider voting yes to this request to help move this across the finish line. Thank you all for your time and consideration.
County Commissioner and Planning and Transportation Commission member Julie Thomas also spoke in support of the request.
As a member of the Plan Commission since 2009, this is something we've been working toward for a long time. And it's important to get this notice out. It's legally required notice. So we really appreciate your consideration of this item. And thank you in advance for your support. And thank you, a huge thank you to the planning staff for all of their hard work that got us to this point.
The council approved the appropriation request unanimously. At the Monroe County Community School Corporation Board of Trustees meeting on July 23rd, the board heard from Interim Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment, Alexis Harmona, who introduced the first reading of an equity-centered sexual identity and gender-inclusive policy and shared background information on how the policy came about.
So on March 28, 2023, our School Board of Trustees signed into effect Resolution 2023-07 to serve as a public recommitment to support LGBTQIA+ students in an inclusive, safe, and welcoming environment. One of the elements from that resolution was that MCCSE administration would work with members of the LGBTQIA+ community and MCCSE staff to draft a policy that prohibits bullying or harassment of LGBTQIA+ individuals in accordance with state and federal law. Over the course of the last school year, invaluable sessions were conducted with school sponsors of LGBTQIA+ alliance groups, students, and local community organizations to gather insights and feedback, providing historical context and expertise crucial for supporting the LGBTQIA+ community. And you can see a timeline of that work here. We once again consulted with the Midwest and Plains Equity and Assistance Center for their guidance and expertise. Dr. Angel Nathan and Dr. Ruthie Payno-Simmons curated key research and sample policies, worked with our equity project team to develop the student voice sessions, and provided ongoing assistance to the team and students throughout the process. A large highlight of the work is student voice. In February, a call-out was completed for students both at the middle and high schools, requesting students who may be interested in this work. 25 of our very own came together on 2 separate days of student voice sessions. During these sessions, both students and educators gained a deeper knowledge of the social, political, legal, and emotional environment surrounding LGBTQIA+ student experiences and policies. Additionally, we reviewed the following: how and why school districts adopt policies, the process of creating an equity-centered sexual identity and gender-inclusive policy, raised awareness of how the district has engaged students in leading and supporting equity and LGBTQIA+ efforts, brainstormed topics for proposed integration into the district's equity-centered sexual identity and gender-inclusive policy. Once again, our students are truly remarkable. Their articulate and collaborative efforts, along with insightful stories and prioritized concerns, have laid the foundation for this policy. We synthesized student voices, input from community partners, MCCSE staff contributions, community survey results, policy samples, and research findings to craft this comprehensive policy. I'd also like to provide a special thank you to Barbara Dennis from Kaleidoscope, Ryan Shade from the Bloomington Human Rights Commission, and the Bloomington chapter of the NAACP for their input, ideas, and ongoing support of student voice in this work. Thank you.
Board members expressed their support of the policy. Next, the board heard from Interim Superintendent Dr. Mark A. Winston, who gave an update on the Childs Templeton Elementary Schools merger.
One of the first things that I did is I pulled together an administrative planning team comprised of individuals who have expertise in facilities, special education, curriculum, early childhood, you name it, the whole continuum of areas that go into school planning. And one of the things that we wanted to do is we wanted to get off on the right foot, so we established what's called a project charter. The purpose of a charter is to kind of outline what's in play and what's out of play relative to that. And so it gives you your marching orders and your direction as to how are we going to go about doing the work, what are the parameters, what are the goals, what are the deliverables, so that it's crystal clear to anyone that looks at this. They should be able to understand exactly how this process is going to move forward. It also affords us a great deal of transparency into what the process is going to look like.
Winston shared that they will host a variety of community engagement meetings in August. On July 23rd, the City of Bloomington Board of Park Commissioners met for a special session. The special meeting included the review of an appeal from a resident who was suspended from the city's farmers market for inappropriate behavior. Director of the Parks Department, Tim Street, said that staff recommends upholding the suspension. Content warning: there is a mention of sexual harassment in the following clips associated with this meeting.
As mentioned, I'm with you tonight in regards to the suspension appeal from Mr. Deloney related to an incident that occurred at the farmers market here at City Hall on Saturday, May 25th, 2024. Ultimately, staff recommends upholding the suspension as it was issued, but the Park Board does have authority in this issue. So on May 25th, an incident occurred at the farmers market in which Mr. Deloney was observed getting into line behind women and rubbing himself against them. This came to our attention because a Bloomington Parks and Rec staff member who was attending the farmers market with her husband that day was bumped into 3 times, and on the third occurrence turned around and confronted him, at which point he left the line in the area. The staff member then located the on-site security officer with Marshall Security. They relocated Mr. Deloney and observed him continuing this behavior with another woman, and provided a video and image with that MSI report. When confronted by MSI and Clarence Boone, the farmers market coordinator, who is here with us this evening, Mr. Deloney responded that he was seeking help for his issues, and when he was notified that law enforcement was on the way, he left the area. He was later arrested, and charges are pending in this case. Per Parks Policy 11080, the director is empowered to issue park suspensions for disruptive behavior. Upon learning of this behavior, Mr. Deloney was issued a 1-year suspension from the farmers markets, as these are locations where women in line would potentially be vulnerable to this behavior. The suspension was issued in accordance, and Mr. Deloney was sent the appeal letter, and it is included here in packet materials.
Farmers Market Coordinator Clarence Boone said that he encouraged the park commissioners to exercise their authority to keep the resident out of the farmers market.
Tim summed it up very well. An embarrassing event that should not have happened. And all I ask is, if I may, exercise the full extent of your authority to keep him out of this farmers market.
Park Commissioner Kathleen Mills added that regardless of the criminality of the incident, the board does have legal authority to remove residents from the farmers market.
I know that, Mr. Deloney is not here, but I know he mentioned in his appeal that he felt like things hadn't been decided from a criminal case kind of point of view, but as Chris pointed out and Tim pointed out, we have our own policies, and it doesn't have to be technically criminal for a person to be removed from a parks facility or environment.
After a brief recess, City Attorney Wheeler recapped the findings of the park commissioners before the members took a vote on the appeal.
It reads as follows: City of Bloomington's Board of Park Commissioners order on appeal of notice of suspension for violating Behavior Policy 11080. This matter is before the Board of Parks Commissioners for an appeal of notice of suspension from the Bloomington Farmers Market, filed by Mr. Andre Deloney. The suspension was issued on June 5, 2024, for conduct that occurred at the Bloomington Farmers Market on May 25, 2024. The Board of Park Commissioners now finds as follows. Number 1, under the authority of Indiana Code, Section 36-10-4 et sec, and Bloomington Municipal Code, Section 2.20, and in accordance with Administrative Policy 2050, Roman numeral 2, subset A, of the Department of Parks and Recreation Policy Manual, a person may be suspended from use or entrance on property owned, managed, or operated by the City of Bloomington Parks and Recreation Department for reasons that include but are not limited to: A, actions or behavior which violate the United States Code; B, actions or behavior which violate the Indiana Code; C, actions or behavior which violate the Indiana Administrative Code; D, actions or behavior which violate the City of Bloomington Municipal Code; E, actions or behavior which violate the rules and regulations adopted by the City of Bloomington Parks and Recreation Department or City of Bloomington Parks Board, unless the appropriate permit has been obtained. F, aggressive or violent actions or behavior. G, actions or behavior that unreasonably disrupts the activities of other users of the park or facility. H, actions or behavior that unreasonably interferes with other person's ability to use the park or facility. I, actions or behavior which unreasonably causes a risk of creates a risk of causing injury to persons within or on property owned, managed, or operated by the City of Bloomington Parks and Recreation Department. J, actions or behavior which unreasonably causes or creates a risk of causing damage to property owned, managed, or operated by the City of Bloomington Parks and Recreation Department. Or K, actions or behavior which constitutes a public nuisance. Number 2, the most recent version of the Department of Parks and Recreation Behavior Policy 11080 was approved by the Board of Parks Commissioners in March of 2024. These behavior guidelines prohibit, quote, any behavior which is disruptive or which hinders the use of Bloomington Parks and Recreation Department programs or services. This includes but is not limited to verbal or physical harassment or assault, end quote. Number 3, Policy 11080 also states that offenses may result in up to a 1-year suspension and that the department shall notify the individual of any sanctions resulting from their behavior. Number 4, Policy 11080 also provides that the individual may appeal any sanctions imposed to the Board of Park Commissioners. Number 5, on May 25, 2025, Mr. Deloney attended the Bloomington Farmers Market, which is operated and managed by the Bloomington Department of Parks and Recreation. Parks staff received multiple first-hand reports that Mr. Deloney touched and groped other customers in an unwanted sexual manner while at the farmers market. Number 6, as a result of these reports, on June 5, 2024, the Bloomington Parks and Recreation Department issued their notice of suspension from City of Bloomington Farmers Markets, also known as an NOS, suspending Mr. Deloney from the Bloomington Farmers Market from June 5, 2024 until June 5, 2025. This NOS was also included instructions for appealing the suspension. Number 7, an appeal was scheduled before this commission on July 23, 2024. Number 8, at the appeal, City of Bloomington Department of Parks and Recreation staff presented evidence of Mr. Deloney's behavior. Number 9, Mr. Deloney failed to appear. Number 10, the evidence supports a finding that Mr. Deloney violated Policy 11080. After reviewing all of the evidence and testimony presented, the Board of Park Commissioners hereby orders as follows. 1, Commissioners uphold the NOS issued by the Department of Parks and Recreation on June 5, 2024. So ordered this 23rd day of July, 2024, signed Kathleen Mills, President, Board of Parks Commissioners, City of Bloomington.
The Board of Park Commissioners voted 3-0 to uphold the 1-year suspension. On Monday, Monroe County's Food and Beverage Tax Advisory Commission approved an additional $350,000 to the budget for the Convention Center's Capital Improvement Board. CIB Controller Jeff Underwood walked through the budget proposal.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Underwood. I am the Controller and Assistant Treasurer for the Monroe County Capital Improvement Board. And those of you that were around earlier this year, we came and got approval for our initial budget for the amount of $250,000. And that had been appropriated by the City Council last year in their budget. And this resides with the city and their food and beverage money, and more specifically in the Controller's office. And Controller Vaughn is here with us today. At that time, we said we would probably be back with a revised budget. We have presented that to the City Council and come back to you today. So the revised budget is $600,702, and that's an additional request of $350,702. And I'll just run down the categories real quick. In supplies, the revised budget is a decrease of $500. In professional fees internal, that would be legal representation, which is under Robertson, and controller duties, which is by myself. We're asking for an increase of $32,858 for legal and $6,844 for controller. Earlier this year, we hired an owner's rep, J.S. Held, and had an initial budget of $50,000, and we're asking for an additional $255,000 for them. Actuarial and design fees, no change. Insurance, a decrease of $15,000. Website in the other category, decrease from $4,000 to $500, so a decrease of $3,500. And then earlier this year, we selected Weddle Brothers as the constructor for the new site. And they'll have pre-construction services in the amount of $75,000, so we added that. So revised budget of $607,02 with an additional request of $350,702. Happy to answer any questions. The President is here as well, so John Weikart, so happy to answer any questions.
Capital Improvement Board member John Weikart asked about the legal fees in the budget proposal. Underwood responded.
Well, the main issue is all about the legal fees or or whatever professional fee. That's the whole reason that you're really doing anything.
Mhm.
So what's the backup for that?
It's just extending the monies that are already allocated to the city, is my understanding.
Yeah, so this will be paid out the city share of food beverage taxes. It will be appropriated by the city council. The steps are, we go and get a resolution by the city council. They review the budget. They make a recommendation for approval that comes back to you all. And should you give a positive recommendation, then we go back, the city will appropriate additional monies out of existing food beverage tax monies on hand.
So I guess that's the procedure. I'm just saying, who's going to do what for $250,000?
That might be the best question, best answered by someone from the CIB, no?
Yeah,
Can you
maybe explain the role of JSL? That might be
Yes,
helpful.
JSL is the owner's rep. They're basically the go-between the CIB and the architect and Weddle Brothers. So they will help manage. They actually, rather than hiring staff, they will fill that role, coordination with the construction, as well as Jim Whitlatch, who was with Bunker Robertson on the legal side, and myself. Will provide backup for that as we go through the construction, but they'll specifically manage the day-to-day operations of the construction sites.
So they're really project managers.
Project managers.
So yeah, first I thought about legal fees. I'm like, I want to get out of that company.
They're the project manager.
The Commission approved the 2024 budget for the CIB in the total amount of $600,702. At the Ellisville Town Council meeting on July 22nd, council members held a final vote on the establishment of a redevelopment commission. Attorney Dalla Brown shared some of the additional specifications that she added to the ordinance at the request of the council regarding who is eligible to sit on the commission.
Council had asked me to add some language regarding the composition of the board, and so I had added some language which for the most part follows the Indiana code. There are some deviations. There's a 5-member board, as you're aware, plus a 6th member from this local school corporation that's a non-voting member. But 3 members are to be appointed by the town council and have to meet the requirements of the Indiana code. Specifically, they have to live within the redevelopment commission area. They have to post a bond, and I think they have to be 18 years of age or older. The other 2 are appointed by the town council. From the town council membership, neither of whom shall be the town council president. The last part is not part of the Indiana code. That was the council's preference, as I understand. And I had included some language in there that says no member of the redevelopment commission shall be a current member of the Ellisville Plan Commission or the Ellisville Board of Zoning Appeals.
Councilmember Scott Oldham brought up the request from Richland Bean Blossom School Superintendent Jerry Sanders that they have a voting member on the board due to the Commission's potential financial impact on the school corporation.
I will kind of bring up the fact before we move forward on this that there's been some communication with the school corporation, who of course by law has a non-voting membership to this board. They are concerned about the potential financial impacts on the school corporation from what we do with TIFs or don't do with TIFs. I can understand some of their logic. I can understand some of their thought processes. Just to put that out there to the council, that we need to, while I think we need to move forward with this, we need to use some care and caution and work with the school corporation to minimize impacts and maximize benefits for everybody involved. So with that, I'll ask, is there any desire from the council, and again, having some one-on-one discussions, is there any desire with the council to make the school corporation a voting?
Brown said that due to Indiana code, they cannot make the school corporation a voting member. The council voted to approve the ordinance, establishing a redevelopment commission unanimously. Later in the meeting, Street Commissioner Kip Hetty shared information about continued storm debris cleanup following the storm on June 25th.
We're all aware June 25th we had that pretty good storm. So within the policy of the town, everybody has 30 days to get their storm damage out onto the edges of the street for us to pick it up. So we're approaching that very quickly. And to give the residents an extra chance, I'm going to do basically another storm damage pickup for the first week in August when we do our brush pickup in August. So if the residents could get their damage out there still to the street, we'll get it picked up for them.
Okay.
Planning Director Denise Line asked the council's approval to enter a grant program titled the Owner-Occupied Rehabilitation Grant, which would help assist low-income residents with home repairs.
The goal of the grant is for communities to create a program for low, moderate income residents to repair their primary residences. To be considered, they must demonstrate the following: low to moderate income. The grant will have a significant impact. Community will demonstrate a commitment to it. The program's for 18 months. The rehabilitation allowed is roof repair or replacement, ADA accessibility modifications, heating and cooling replacement, select lighting features and electrical upgrades, and water heater replacement. The maximum amount we can spend on each repair is $25,000. The grant limits are $350,000, which would serve 14 people at $25,000 apiece. The town's match is 10% of whatever grant funds we receive. They said depending on how many requests they get, they may lower the amounts of the grant request. So I wanted to discuss it with you and see if you would approve for us to do it.
Councilmember William Ellis asked if renters would be able to receive the grant. Line said that it would only be open to homeowners. The council agreed to move forward without a formal vote needed. Lastly, Ellis thanked the fire department for responding to a fire at his son's house.
I want to personally thank the fire department today. My son's house burnt down and they were there quickly. And they saved as much as they could, and the way they handled him with care, I tell you what, I'm so proud of Ellettsville right now. Thank you, guys.
At the next Ellettsville Town Council meeting on August 12th, the council will host a public hearing on the Unified Development Ordinance. And that is all for CATSweek. Thank you for joining us. For CATS and WFHB, I'm Annalise Poorman.